Carbohydrates are always bad for you and should be avoided.
Completely false.
Fat should be completely eliminated from the diet to lose weight.
Oh my gosh, completely false. Eat your fats. Don't be scared of them. You decide, are you going to give them money to make more food that's causing us to get sick?
I feel a little guilty now because I came back from the supermarket earlier today.
I can't find a tomato that tastes amazing in LA. It's almost impossible.
Today we have a very special guest with us, Mona Sharma. Mona is a nutrition and wellness mentor, a holistic nutritionist, and a wellness advocate who has worked with high-profile clients such as Will Smith, Jay Shetty, and Hrithik Roshan. She is also the founder of Xicama, an innovative line of food and functional beverage products that deliver gut health and immune-boosting benefits of the superfood Jicama. Mona has been featured on The Today Show, The Doctor's Television, and Red Table Talk, sharing her expertise on health and wellness. Having grown up living in an ashram, Mona's approach to health combines modern science with the power of ancient rituals.
Anayat, what other proof you need to start yoga exercise? Tell me.
Hopefully Mona will give me the pass over here.
I will not give up on it yet, so maybe one day we'll do 1 month challenge with you.
We've all been there. We've all started a diet or something new, and then it worked for a while, and then it stops, right?
I'm on a diet right now.
There you go. Can we just call it crazy what's happening right now? You optimize the power of your thoughts, you naturally optimize your body.
Mona, it is absolute pleasure to meet you. Welcome.
The Avenue of the Strongest is a podcast dedicated to exploring the lives and experiences of the most inspiring individuals from around the world. Each episode features interviews with fascinating guests who share their insights and wisdom on a variety of topics, including education, impact, motivation, health, and learning. Here are your hosts, Anayat Chowdhury and Vlad Suleiman.
Mona, it is an absolute pleasure to meet you. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So your story is very fascinating. I would love to kind of understand more about your childhood over here. So I understand you grew up in an ashram, and obviously you were exposed to the principles of food as medicine, yoga, and meditation. Can you talk a little bit more about those earlier years and how that experience was? This podcast is sponsored by ArgoPrep, an award-winning edtech company serving over 1 million students nationwide. We understand that as parents, you want to ensure that your child receives the best education possible. Say hello to ArgoPrep. With over 15 plus educational awards earned in just the past year, ArgoPrep's platform offers your child video lessons, quizzes, drills, printable worksheets, and more. Best of all, your ArgoPrep subscription comes included with 4 comprehensive digital workbooks that cover all 4 subjects: math, ELA, science, and social studies. Visit argoprep.com today and start your free trial.
Yeah, so my father's Punjabi and my mom is from Denmark. And I've actually only ever known my mom to suffer from debilitating rheumatoid arthritis. So her entire body is completely deformed. And I found out recently, it was actually her that found this ashram in Montreal. I'm originally from Toronto, Canada. And as a result, my dad would always be introducing this idea of food as medicine at home because he had this awareness of Ayurveda. Ayurveda is a 5,000-year-old ancient Indian practice to heal the body, mind, and spirit. So we would end up spending these summers at this Shivananda ashram up in the mountains in Valmorin. And for those of you who don't know what an ashram is typically a center that you visit where there's a strong focus on healing foods, meditation, yoga, breath work, spending time in nature, really cultivating practices in community to heal the body. And it was pretty incredible growing up. And I saw firsthand the power of all of these things to shift my parents' state. And it was pretty relaxing. However, while all my friends were going to a really fun summer camp, I had to go to yoga camp. So when your dad taps you on the shoulder at 5 o'clock in the morning to go and meditate, when you're eating this pretty strict Ayurvedic diet, it didn't seem enjoyable at the time. But needless to say, what was happening is that they were imprinting all of these incredible values on my nervous system and on my health. And, flash forward, I ended up working in the corporate world. I was in luxury cosmetics, which ended up being a sales job.
Okay.
And typical sales scenario, there was a lot of travel. It was a numbers-based job. I was paid on performance. And in this world of fashion, there was a lot of partying, a lot of eating out, a lot of drinking and stuff like that. I got to a point though where I was just so out of alignment. I suffered from anxiety. I started getting these heart palpitations, and doctors put me on a beta blocker. So a beta blocker to stop these heart palpitations from happening, but they just kept getting worse. And that caused me to gain about 15 to 20 pounds. And I was at a point in my life, like so many people, where I wanted the quick fix.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what to do. Tell me, how do I get rid of this problem really, really fast so I can just go on with my life instead of doing the work, right? And it was in my second heart surgery. I was awake for the whole thing. There was all these wires pointing in at my heart. Doctors were injecting me with a lot of adrenaline and things to get these palpitations that I knew would only happen if I was out in the world moving my body. And the doctor said to me, Mona, great news. We found where we can do another ablation where they burn off this electrical node in the heart. But there's a chance that you might have to wear a pacemaker for the rest of your life. And it was in that moment that I knew, what, a pacemaker? I'm not sick. I know that there's a better way. I know that it's possible to heal your body. I know that I'm working in a profession where I'm not happy. I'm not happy in my life. So, I remembered my roots. I remembered where I came from. And I knew in that moment that I had to leave the corporate world and go back to the ashram. And that's when I became a yoga teacher, meditation teacher, and then eventually a holistic nutritionist, not to do it professionally, but literally just for my own personal healing.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened.
Wow, that is an incredible story. Thank you so much for sharing that journey with us. I know you share that, of course, publicly, but that's so interesting how it comes full circle, right? Now,
Absolutely.
and since we're on the topic of this, I do want to congratulate you for being. I know your company. You own a beverage company, Xicama. It was the official beverage of Coachella in 2019, right? How did that make you feel?
Oh my gosh, just trusting the journey, right? So here I am growing up with this motto of food is medicine. My mom, with her arthritis, knew from a very early stage that food had a really big impact on her healing, but also her gut microbiome. So my mom was talking about gut health before it was a trend. Growing up, it was eat it, it's good for you. Drink it, it's good for you. I have so many memories, like plugging my nose, trying to get these things down. And gut health really, she knew about the power of prebiotic foods and probiotic foods to feed good bacteria in the gut. So probiotic foods are fermented foods like yogurt and kimchi and kefir and stuff like that are actual good bacteria. Mm-hmm. But she also learned through education that the power of prebiotic fiber-rich food could also naturally boost the good bacteria in the gut. So when I became a nutritionist and started following the same philosophy as food as medicine, instead of putting my clients on tons of supplements and stuff like that, I started using foods. And when I look at gut healing foods, the ingredient Jicama was top of my list. So really high in prebiotic fiber to feed that good bacteria, really high in vitamin C, which is great for our immune system and our immune support, really high in hydration also. So it ended up just being like this perfect swap for things like crackers and chips and cookies for my clients. And when I was pregnant with my daughter about 5 years ago, we were eating Jicama as we usually do. And I was on a baby moon with my husband, and he just said out of the blue, this would taste really good as a drink. So we came back to our kitchen, we threw some Jicama through a juicer, and it tasted really good. It has this like sweetness, this frothiness, this milkiness to it. And we went online, we saw like people all around the world knew about this power of using Jicama and Jicama juice, but nobody had done anything with it as a product. And call it divine intervention or whatever it is, I just feel like the people are put in front of you at the right time. And we ended up getting introduced to these incredible mixologists. And they said, my gosh, we have Jicama in our blender right now. So, we ended up partnering with them. They made us 3 amazing flavors of these Jicama kind of beverages, not even knowing that I was going to start a food and beverage company at the time. But a couple of weeks later, they said, hey, like these taste really good. We're going to be at Coachella. Do you want to come and be one of the official drinks? We're like, oh my God, sure. My husband did anything and everything. I'm here with a newborn baby to try to make this happen. And as luck would have it, we ended up breaking sales records. and we were the number one drink after water and beer.
Wow.
So we just knew we had something.
Wow.
Yeah. And, we have obviously my founder's story. We have an ingredient that is innovative and stuff like that. But, the pandemic ended up coming in. We thought we were going to go direct to hospitality. But during that time, we just went really deep into research and development and formulated a bunch of different products. And yeah, I'm excited about what's to come for this brand.
Wow. I'm super excited for your journey as well. I mean, this is crazy. I have to call you insane because you are in the beverage industry, which is literally one of the most brutal. I say that with so much respect. I mean, it's crazy. It's scary. My follow-up question would be did you ever think about launching something with Xicama, but not beverage because it's so brutal? Because when you think about scaling it and getting into retailers, and I know I did go to your website and it looks like you have a ton of partners. It looks like you're absolutely killing it. But fighting for that shelf space and we have some experience because our products are also nationwide in select retailers, but it's vicious.
It's vicious. It's overwhelming. It is the most expensive category to launch a product in. There's so much marketing and advertising, and it's one of the most old school businesses. We need hands on our product, shipping it, packing it, delivering it, which costs a lot of money, right? Even as a nutritionist walking into some big retailers or health food stores, I'm even confused with what to drink, right? But I'll honestly say, we ended up launching with beverage. So there we go. It couldn't have happened any other way because it didn't. So we're sticking with it. And we end up we're growing. Yeah. Despite all the challenges and expenses, we're still growing. So do I wish I could go back in time and launch with another product that we have? Absolutely. Because we can use the entire Xicama. Once you juice it, you're left with all this pulp, and that pulp we've turned into different products. Yeah. So we have a whole food brand also that's ready to go. So do I wish I could do that? Of course I do. But needless to say, here I am. I'm going to establish the brand as a functional beverage brand that doesn't sacrifice taste. It tastes amazing. We get a lot of feedback that it's perfect as a mixer. So, hey, it's a mixer that's great and it fuels your gut health as well. And then keep going, keep riding the wave.
I love that. And
Anayat, isn't we were looking to open up a new business? So here you go.
Yeah,
the food company.
Oh man, I'm sorry. I have great respect and admiration for anybody in the food and beverage space. It is I'm too old for that now. I'm too scared. My risk to reward ratio has gone out of balance. I've become more conservative. But I would love to try, and I would love to try your brand. Your brand. Do you guys deliver to New York? I'm assuming it's, or is it only in select? Is it only in retailers, or is it also you can just simply order it on your website?
You can order on the website, but also through Amazon. So we can definitely get it through to New York. We just announced our biggest retailer yet is with Sprouts. And our primary focus right now is in California. Jicama is an ingredient that does need a little bit of education once you leave California or Mexico. So we're just establishing the brand here, but yes, we do and can ship abroad. We have a couple places in Toronto, even where I'm from, that we can ship to.
I love that. And
where in California do you sell? Because I'm gonna be traveling soon to California, so maybe I'll step by and just check it out.
Yeah, so Air One is a place here, really kind of, bougie, fantastic grocer. And also Mother's Market is here. And then hopefully when you get here, we're going to be on the shelves at Sprouts.
Wow, that's amazing. That's
Sprout,
amazing.
Yeah, I know. Sprouts is a very nice store. It's in all Sprouts or just the local Sprout?
Right now, we're going to focus on regional, and then they wanted us to go national, but we're going to establish the brand a little bit more first before we do that.
Awesome. I'll pass it over to Vlad. Yeah, that is some serious power over there.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's speak about some myth. Okay, so you as a specialist in holistic approach and as a nutritionist, so I'll be reading. I have some myth here, so I'll be reading one after another, and I would like you to go a little bit deeper on each of them. Okay. Great. So myth number one: fat should be completely eliminated from the diet to lose weight.
Oh my gosh, completely false. You want to include good quality fats. So yeah, you want to take out trans fats, inflammatory fats that come from things like seed oils, canola oil, processed vegetable oils, soybean oil, safflower oil, sunflower oil. We know that these things can be inflammatory to the body, but good quality fats can be beneficial to the body. They can be used as an incredible source of fuel. They can put out inflammation. They can help the function of our digestive system, our endocrine system, our hormone system, and even our brain. So include good quality fats like avocado, olive oil, raw nuts and seeds, cold pressed oils like avocado oil and coconut oil are also beneficial. But yeah, eat your fats. Don't be scared of them.
Okay, myth number 2. Carbohydrates are always bad for you and should be avoided.
Completely false also. Yeah. It's crazy. You know, the biggest challenge that comes with my work is retraining my clients' mindset on breaking up with the diet mentality, right? So we've gone through all of these phases: eat carbs, avoid carbs, eat fats, don't eat fats. So nobody knows what to do anymore. But carbohydrates are actually a primary source of fuel for our bodies and for our brains. So if food is information, you just want to focus on quality carbohydrates. What are quality carbohydrates? Things that come from the earth. Vegetables and root vegetables, fruits are even great source of carbohydrates. The carbohydrates that aren't good for you are things that are overly ultra processed. So consider this: if it comes in a package, like crackers and chips and cookies and stuff like that, that's a processed carbohydrate that isn't going to serve your health. But if you eat, this idea of eat the rainbow, right? If you eat ingredients that come from the earth that are naturally carbohydrate rich, gosh, sky's the limit. Enjoy.
Okay, next one is special for my wife because she loves doing detox diets. So detox diets or juice cleanses are necessary to eliminate toxins from the body.
Yeah, our body is incredible. Your body right now in this moment is working its hardest to keep you healthy and to detox toxins. However, we live in a very toxic world. Our air is polluted, our water is polluted, our food isn't as nutrient dense as it used to be. So yeah, detoxes are beneficial. And when I come from my lineage of Ayurveda, we traditionally would have done detoxes with a change of every season to support our body and specifically our liver, our kidneys, and our gut microbiome, right? The elimination center for our body. Now we're understanding a little bit more about metabolic health. So there was a massive trend of everyone going on these like hardcore juice diets and stuff like that. But with those juices, like a lot of them are very high sugar. So when you look at your metabolic health, your blood glucose, whether you have a glass of orange juice or a chocolate bar or a piece of pie, right? They all spike your insulin level, causing it to drop. And that leaves you on this kind of glucose instability throughout the day. And it's really hard to be on that. Your body's constantly craving more food, craving more carbohydrates. You're constantly crashing, needing more energy. So I don't necessarily recommend juice detoxes. Green, organic cold pressed green juices can be massively beneficial for you. But I would sooner look at either an appropriate fasting protocol where you're fasting for 1, 2, or 3 days, work with someone to make it feel easier for you. Or you can consider there's a couple of really great detoxes on the market that are gentle. Think of it this way: if you're doing something to shock your body, you're shocking your body. It's gonna be linked to a stress response. Do things that are gentle to the body. Use herbs that are naturally gently detoxing for the body so that you feel the difference over a few days.
Okay, myth number 4. A lot of people will love it, this one. Eating after a certain time in the evening will cause weight gain.
100% yes. Yeah. So, food is information and food is our fuel. We don't need fuel typically after 8 o'clock, unless you're somebody that's working overnight, right? Or working late into the night and you might need some brain support. So I kind of feel like we have it backwards in our culture with how we're fasting. Typically, most people will skip breakfast if they're skipping a meal. But I feel like that's the fuel that you need for the day. So I would rather you skip dinner if you're going to be fasting. And then we can look at sleep studies. So I don't know if you guys have ever seen this ring. It's an Aura ring.
Yeah.
I have no connection to them at all. But I can look at my clients' data and see those who eat within 3 hours of going to bed, their sleep is a mess. They really miss out on this initial phase of deep restorative sleep. They're up a few times throughout the night. And this is because digestion takes an incredible amount of work. Your body, instead of being able to go into deep sleep, is now focusing on digesting food and assimilating nutrients. And it can't even get to that process of regeneration until midway through the night. So do your best to stop eating at least 3 hours before bed.
And the last myth, all organic foods are inherently healthier than conventionally grown foods.
Yeah, and this is a sensitive topic, especially because now we're living in a world where food is just like so expensive. It is so expensive to get groceries these days. And, often we'll refer to a list called the dirty dozen list, the list of foods that you should 100% buy organic because they're sprayed. They have a really thin skin, so they absorb a lot of that pesticide and herbicides and fungicides that we know are detrimental to our health. However, the bigger argument now is like, if you look at a farm that's been using pesticides for, over a decade, that soil that the food is grown in is just like infiltrated with all of these chemicals. So that grows up into the vines of the fruit. So regardless, you're going to get access and exposure to those chemicals that are going to cause impact to how your body functions. So do your best to buy organic wherever and whenever possible. To really avoid exposure to those toxins that are going to impact how you feel. What are some of the symptoms? Like anything from headache, irritability, issues with your skin, bloating, diarrhea, gas, loss of sex drive, loss of focus, cellulite. Like the list is pretty big, so don't ignore your symptoms. And if you have a lot of symptoms, look in your house to where you can clean up shop. That's typically in your fridge, in your cabinets, but also within your personal care products, right? We use a lot of personal care products, creams and lotions and hair products and toothpaste and mouthwash. Clean up the chemicals that could be lingering in those products that are making you sick.
But how do we find the real organic food in the store? If it's saying organic, is it that's it?
Well, it's organic.
Do I take it for granted or what?
Yeah, so the labeling right now is, it will say USDA certified organic. That's how you know. If it's a beautifully, italic written organic, then it's probably not. This is that crazy, big food right now. They're catching on to the power of labeling. You can get a product that says all natural, paleo, gluten-free, healthy,
Right.
And they're just labels. So always the front of the product doesn't matter. Look at the back. The actual ingredient label is what matters when you're considering what's safe for your health.
Wow, I love that advice. And actually, I wanted to ask one other thing, because obviously, a lot of people don't have access to funds many of the times. So you can say, hey, I can't really eat healthy. Well, I can't get everything organic, because you're right. Organic food is outrageously expensive. But are there any tips or advice that you can give for people with a specific, with a smaller budget, and say, hey, listen, although your budget's small, you can actually eat pretty healthy here. Here's the advice that I would give.
Yeah, don't
Okay.
overeat, first of all.
Don't overeat, for sure. Notice that the more processed foods that you're buying are just as expensive as those organic foods. So first, you really want to spend your time in the outer perimeter of the grocery store. That's where whole foods are, not the grocer, but actual real whole foods that come from farms and stuff like that exist. If you're budget conscious, then yes, 100% look at that dirty dozen list to see what the most sprayed foods are with those chemicals, and make sure that those are organic. And another simple hack is to go to the frozen section. Go to the frozen section and look at the produce that's there, the vegetables and the fruits that you can buy that tend to be a little bit cheaper when they are frozen. But here's the thing, a lot of people think that those foods are less nutrient dense. They're actually more nutrient dense, because what has to happen? They pick them off the tree or the leaf or the farm, and they have to freeze it immediately, which means that it holds on to a lot of those vitamins and minerals and nutrients and phytochemicals. Unlike often, if you're getting a tomato that comes from the other side of the world, they're plucking it before it's ripe, It has to ripen while it's in the air. A lot of companies will use an actual chemical to help it ripen at the right time so that by the time it hits the store, it's ripened. But it's also been plucked from the life source, 1, 2, or even 3 weeks, right? Without having that nutrient rich density. And I always say that the sooner that you can pick a food from the earth, the healthier it is, the more life force energy that it will give you. And we've all, hopefully at some point, if we haven't all experienced, go to a farm. Go to a farm and take a bite of a food that you pick off the leaf itself and notice the difference in how that tastes compared to what's at the grocery store. Notice the difference in the color and the size and the vibrancy. I always laugh to my clients. I can't find a tomato that tastes amazing in LA. It's almost impossible. I wish I had my own farm, but then you go to other parts of the world where they're grown. It's like, gosh, they're so flavorful and so juicy. Like that is nutrient dense food.
Thank you for that.
But now there is a lot of
no, go ahead.
Yeah, now I'm saying that now there is a lot of devices where you can grow your own fruits and vegetables right in your apartment. You don't even have to have like a backyard or something. There is the system that gives you the light and everything. This would be fine, right?
Yeah, I think, it is the way of the future to go that way. But we have to consider, in the same way that our health is connected to nature, the health of our food is also connected to the health of the soil, the health of the air, the health of the water, and of course, sunlight. We all need sunlight. So, I haven't done the research or looked at the data of foods that are grown indoor versus outdoor. But my motto is to always trust in nature. And if we trust in nature, we want to get soil-based food as much as possible. Do I really appreciate those, those lettuce towers? You can grow lettuce in your backyard, or if you want to grow herbs and spices on your countertop in your kitchen, yes, make it happen. Get some sort of ingredients that you can use in your food, because the power of herbs and spices, by the way, that's nature's anti-inflammatories. When we call food medicine, that is the primary source of medicine. If we look at all of our ancestors, no matter where we come from, they all would have used these herbs and spices to heal the body, right?
Yeah.
So focus on that first. Really use your kitchen as your primary form of healthcare first.
I love your advice. I feel a little guilty now because I came back from the supermarket earlier today, and I can tell you I did not spend most of my times on the outer perimeter of the store. I will make sure I do a much better job with that. I try, and then I buy things that are outrageously expensive, but then I find out that it's actually not good for you because here's what I'm not doing. I'm not looking at the back, and then I see all the ingredients, and it's like 60 different ingredients, which is horrible. But on the front of the package, it looks great, right? All natural, grain-free, this free, that free. But as you said, that is simply a marketing tactic for people who are dumb enough like me. But no, it is a serious issue. But even, I definitely have to be much more conscious about that.
We all do. Food marketing is a really big thing. Big food companies is a big thing. So do your best at reading your labels. When you go to a grocery store, make sure that you don't go hungry, because the second that you go hungry, you're buying everything and everything. Never go to the grocery store hungry, right? You're destined to fail. You're going to buy anything that looks appealing. And then, of course, read the labels of everything, because big food companies are really smart. They know how to market. They know how to place products at a specific eye level. And those of you listening who have children, gosh, if you take your children grocery shopping, you'll see they're instantly going to go for the color. They're going to go for the comic characters, and they're going to go for the really, appropriately placed packages that are there. But we look at these ingredient labels and we question, despite living in an era of hyper wellness, I think you guys will agree, Vlad, you're asking me these questions that it's we don't know what to do anymore, right? What are the myths? What should I focus on? Why then, if we live in this era of hyper wellness, are we so confused? Are we still getting sicker? For me, when I work with my clients who are doing all the right things, we still see diabetes is on the rise, obesity is on the rise, metabolic disorders on the rise amongst adults and children, right?
Wow.
So we really have to take control over our food system. And one of my mentors, Dr. Mark Hyman, he says the only way to do that in today's world is to control with your dollar. Your dollar, whatever brands you're choosing to shop from,
Yeah.
you decide, are you going to give them money to make more food that's causing us to get sick, or are you not? And we can send them a message to say, hey, we're not going to stand for those inflammatory oils anymore. We're not going to stand for those fake sugars and colorful dyes that are making us sick, right? That's the only way.
Wow, that's actually
Speaking of marketing, what about the superfoods? Is it real, or is it just the marketing of the big companies?
They're absolutely real. Yeah. So focus on superfoods. There are so many of them. And I will say that most superfoods are those foods that don't have ingredient labels, right? It's one single ingredient. That's all it is. And there's superfoods for the brain, superfoods for the gut microbiome, superfoods for the skin. So yeah, believe that hype for sure.
This is a really good question to segue into, which is obviously now we see a huge rise in AI and technology. And we have these incredible chatbots that have come out that can do incredible things. How do you see the future of health and wellness evolving over here with this? Do you any insights or anything you want to share with that?
Can we just call it crazy what's happening right now? Like this whole world of AI, I feel like it's happening so quickly, which means that the data is already so much even further than what we're aware of. So I see both sides. I definitely see the side, I'm on a couple of chats where they've put in their blood labs and ChatGPT is just like fed out the potential of what it could be, which is more information than these people have gotten from their medical doctors.
Yeah.
That's wild, right?
Yeah.
The second part of that is, are people already self-diagnosing by going to Dr. Google? So we have to be careful with that side of things also, because we can't self-diagnose. We can't just decide to take, a handful of supplements. If you're taking a supplement because you hear it's good for you on a podcast or radio show or ad campaign, and all of a sudden you're taking a bowl of supplements every day, everything that you consume is going to impact some part of your physiology. And we never know. Is it going to turn off the enzymes that you need? Is it going to put another vitamin in imbalance? Is it going to impede your energy long term? So I really say, like, your perfect diet supplement protocol should be as unique as your thumbprint. And if you're dealing with imbalances, it should still be with an expert. I think that ChatGPT is going to be an incredible resource for people. But I think that if you're using it to treat a symptom or to diagnose something, then it's still wise to find a doctor or a practitioner. But here's the catch: a doctor or practitioner who's actually your partner in healing. Right? What happened when I went to the doctor with my heart palpitation? God bless the doctors at that time. They saw a problem. They wanted me to get rid of it, right? They said, oh my gosh, here, take this medication. But at the time, the doctors weren't asking about my lifestyle. They weren't asking about my stress levels. They weren't necessarily really asking about my diet and what I was going through at that time. So we just have to understand that we need to look for the root cause of imbalances before we start a specific protocol. And it's time to stop dieting, stop looking for fads, stop looking for the perfect red pill, and just maybe honor your own constitution, because nobody else in this world is built like you. Nobody else has your background. Nobody else has the same ethnicity and life story and circumstances that have led you to be the way that you are today. So use ChatGPT, but use it with an air of caution.
That's such an important point that you brought up. I want to actually re-emphasize that, because I really like that you said when you're taking supplements, you should be taking it's as unique as your fingerprints, and you're absolutely correct. I feel, it's so I'll give you a very quick personal experience. I was taking like a generic multivitamins supplement along with a couple of others, and because I saw a podcast probably. I wasn't taking anything before, and I started, hey, it's like, hey, I need this, and I started taking it. I didn't do any blood work. I didn't, go and consult with any expert. And when I did my blood test next time, my B12 were off the charts. And the doctor looked at me like, do you feel dizzy? Like, what's going on? What are you doing? How much meat are you consuming? Like, I was like, well, I don't consume that much meat. I mean, I consume meat, but not like that. And then, of course, we found out that it was my the vitamins that I was taking. So actually, I do want to point that out. It's very important. No matter what supplement you should take, I think everyone has a custom tailored set of needs and protocols that they need to follow. So that is such great advice. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course. Well, look at the word itself. A supplement is to supplement where you are lacking.
Yeah.
Right? So we have to consider it's a form of medication. And any good practitioner, they might put you on a really intense supplement protocol temporarily to address your imbalances, but you should be retesting your blood or your saliva and your stool to see, are you absorbing those vitamins? Do you feel a difference? Is it making a difference in your health? And then you can come off of them, right? We want our body to still optimize. We want to be able to keep the response turned on so that your body can learn how to digest and manufacture the things that you need instead of relying on external supplements or resources.
So as a holistic nutritionist, you believe in functional nutrition, breath and movement as therapy, and meditation as mind reconditioning. Can you elaborate on how these three components work together to create a balanced and healthy lifestyle?
Yeah, I realized really quickly in my practice over a decade ago, I was putting people on diets, and the diet would work until it didn't, right? We've all been there. We've all started a diet or something new, and then it worked for a while, and then it stops,
on a diet right now.
There you go, right? And I usually say to people, look, you're going to go on a diet or this type of diet, it will probably work for you until it doesn't. And then you're going to be back at square one looking for the next thing to start. So here's the thing. When I went away to the ashram, I guess I was on a vegetarian diet, but I was coming off of the Atkins diet, which is all protein, like literally all protein. And then I went to the ashram and I was eating more carbohydrates than I'd eaten in my entire life, right? Tons of veggies and lentils and potatoes and squashes and stuff like that. But I lost weight.
Wow.
So what was it? What else was there? The practice of breath work. We now know, and I even say breath work is just as important as sleep. And you might even have to address those before your nutrition when you're looking to optimize your health. When we think about our body's nervous system, we're living in a world where stress has never been higher ever in history. A lot of us are living in the state of fight or flight versus or compared to rest and digest. When we're in fight or flight, it's an emergency response for our body. It is doing whatever it can to stay alive, essentially, right? And a lot of us have become accustomed to living in this state. But here's the thing, living in fight or flight with our ancestors, if we were running from an animal in the wild, we would never, while we were running, say, oh, now's a good time to eat an apple or have a meal, right? We would never have done that. We're in survival mode. But here we are today, living in that same state, eating, spending time with our loved ones, trying to relax, right? And it doesn't work. So what happened at the ashram for me, I shifted my physiology from living in fight or flight to being in rest and digest. And I always say, when you're in rest and digest, this is where healing happens. This is when all systems are turned on. Your body, because there's no stress response or external fear that it has to worry about, can say, okay, now we can focus on digesting food and creating the right enzymes and hormones and sleep cycle to make you feel optimized. And the way that we can do that in today's modern world, because chances are stress isn't going away for any of us, unless ChatGPT does something about that. We'll see.
That's great.
Is to use these coping mechanisms or practices that, again, an ancient practice to regulate the nervous system. That could be meditation, that could be breath work, that could be journaling, that could be walking outside, that could be yoga, Pilates, Qigong. But these practices that are really designed to ease the nervous system so that it can function at its best. And then all of a sudden, when I can really do this with my clients, the tension of like, what do I eat? What diet do I start? It dissipates a little bit. They notice that they can eat a piece of cake or a brownie and they don't have the guilt anymore. And they also aren't craving it every day. They have it once in a while and that's enough.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I'll pass it over to
Annette, what other proof you need to start doing yoga exercises? Tell me.
To start doing yoga?
to start.
Well, Vlad, I don't know
Yeah.
if you listen closely. She did mention walking, and I've been walking 90 minutes every single day. So, I hopefully Mona will give me the pass over here. Vlad over here is a big yoga enthusiast, and he's been trying to get me to do yoga for the last literally 8-9 years, um,
Wow.
which is fantastic. But he hasn't succeeded yet.
So
It's
maybe
okay.
I'll share this
I'll
with
not give
you.
up. Yeah.
We all know yoga is beneficial, and we know meditation is beneficial. Why aren't we practicing these things daily, right? Now the science is actually backing up the woo-woo aspect of it. So I'll never forget, I was in my 20s, I was doing my yoga teacher training, and it was around week 3 that week 3, people in the class, all, the students would get up during a specific pose and they'd have to leave because they would have this like emotional breakthrough. There's a lot of emotion. They felt like crying or they had to go to the bathroom or something. And it happened week 3. So with the consistency of having a yoga practice where you're moving your physiology to process emotions, where you're balancing the left and the right side of the body, where you're shifting your mindset from that fight or flight into rest and digest, come week 3 was like this big release for everybody. And that's when you create, it's kind of like creating a ritual. You understand the power of the practice and its physiology, the impact. If I do yoga, it will make me feel this way. And I think that the same is true for meditation. I think the same is true for Qigong. I think the same is true for journaling, for breath work, especially. But we have to do it with consistency. And if you're not consistent with it, just ask yourself, look at your list of imbalances or symptoms. Look at any area of your life or your physiology that you want to optimize. And I promise you, if you look at the benefits of mindfulness and mindfulness practices or yoga, meditation, breath work, you will see that they will undo the damage or the inflammation from those areas. So, and it's free, right? They're all free practices.
That is true.
Yeah.
So
Mona,
we're
what's
going to do
your
yoga, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I will not give up on it yet. So maybe one day we'll do 1 month challenge with you. So we'll see.
Good.
Mona, what's your perspective on the popular trend consuming celery juice promoted by medical medium, if you know?
Yeah, you have to question, again, some things are great for certain people's physiology. For a lot of the people who've had these like miraculous cure experiences using celery juice, I also want to see what else that they removed, right? Did they remove also going to McDonald's all the time? Did they remove having a coffee and a Twinkie for breakfast? Did they remove some other really toxic habit that was causing the imbalance? Celery is great for you. It has this great biodiversity of salt also, which is incredibly nourishing to our nervous system. So is it worth a try? Yeah, why not, right? You'll probably notice it makes you feel a little bit lighter. It will definitely, or for most people, it has a very cleansing effect on the GI tract. So it's going to clean you out a little bit. But again, ask yourself if the practices that you adopt, do they make you feel great? If they don't make you feel great, then stop. It's not meant for you, right? And this goes for any practice. This could be, you having your bulletproof coffee in the morning or not.
Right.
This could be you having a certain type of carbohydrate or not, eating meat or not, right? There's this big thing around eat meat or don't eat meat. How does it make you feel? Because whatever you do that makes you feel really great and optimized and all systems a go, then that's the thing for you. Don't let anyone else dictate that. It's your choice.
So can celery juice affect your skin or no?
Absolutely. Yeah. But then also, again, what were you having before that you replaced with celery juice, right? So when we think about detoxifying our liver, our kidneys, but also our GI tract, right? If we're taking out toxins, our skin is naturally going to improve, right? And celery juice can also have a very alkalizing effect. So if you live a highly acidic life, meaning high stress, high processed foods, chemicals in the environment, not a lot of clean air, not a lot of time exercising and stuff like that, then yeah, you'll definitely see a benefit to your skin.
And is it true that if you want to have nice skin, you have to avoid taking dairy products?
It depends on you. Yeah, I know for me, some dairy is okay. If I have cheese, my skin, I'll have a breakout for sure. But again, you've got to look at the quality. If it's hyper processed, when we think about dairy also, if you can't digest it, you'll suffer from gas, right? That is a response that tells you your body can't digest it. But you can also look at different types of dairy. But at the end of the day, you just have to look at where it comes from. Are the cows outside? Are they grass-fed the way that they should be? Or are they eating corn and soy and byproducts and stuff like that? There was a study where some cows were fed Skittles to lactate more. Like, God, like what is happening with the food system, right? Being half Indian, dairy is a really big part of our diet. So I'm okay with a little bit of milk and cream that's grass-fed, that's organic. But the second I move into processed cheeses and stuff like that, it doesn't fare well for me. Yeah. So just do a test. A lot of my clients will do an elimination. They'll take dairy out for 3 or 4 weeks and then bring dairy as one form. So let's say milk or cream for 1 week. And then week 2, they'll bring cheese back in and they'll notice, do I have any symptoms? Is my digestion sluggish? Is the quality of my stool different because of the dairy? Do I have breakouts on my skin? And then you'll know whether dairy is for you.
Mona, I have 2 last questions for you. And thank you so much again for being on the show. What I love about, my question here, my first question is, for those of us who are listening right now and want to take one step after this discussion, what can they do? Because obviously there's a lot of moving parts to it. We talk about nutrition, we talk about controlling the breath, the nervous system comes in play here a lot, meditation. These are there's so many things we have to work on to really see the benefits, which is fantastic. But if there's one thing that after this discussion that someone can start doing, what would that be?
Magical formula.
Well,
yeah,
no magical
exactly.
formula, but
Where's the magic? I would say the first thing is to clean up your cupboards. All right. So clean up your cupboards. You want to make sure that the bulk of the food that you're consuming is coming from your fridge and not from your pantry. Remember, whole living foods with less ingredients, right? If you are going through your cabinets, and I suggest you do, if there's ingredients that are hyper processed, if it's an ingredient that you can't even pronounce because there's so many letters, if you don't know what the ingredient is, neither will your body. It's a chemical, it's a toxin. It's not going to serve your health or your energy. So clean up your cupboards. My clients will always make a joke. What would Mona do? What would Mona eat? If I were to come into your pantry, what would I want to see versus what I wouldn't want to see? You don't even need me there. Just ask the question. What would a nutritionist want to see versus, I'd have to hide that way back there,
that's
right?
Great.
Take out the stuff that you have to hide. And look, I love chocolate. My kids love ice cream, but I'll just buy a better quality. There's no excuses anymore. You can buy a better quality of the version of the food that you like for sure. All right. So do that first. So clean out your cupboards, clean out your personal care cupboards also, the chemicals that are lingering there, so that you're just taking away the toxic burden of those ingredients. For a lot of people, that brings like some initial just feeling better. And then from there, in Ayurveda, we always say that we digest so much more than what we eat. We digest with all of our senses. What are you watching? What are you listening to? What are you putting on your skin? What do you feel, right? What are you smelling? And then what are you eating also, right? So with all of your senses, what are you digesting? And for a lot of people, like, look, if you're suffering from stress and anxiety and every night you're binge watching shows that are like thriller and horror and like really intense shows that are keeping you wired and tired, get rid of them for a little bit. Right?
That's great advice. That is great advice.
Yeah.
Mona, I want to ask you one last question, which we ask every guest here. The question is, who has been the most strongest or most inspiring person in your life, and what lessons have you learned from them?
My gosh, well, I have to say my mom and my dad for sure. So my mom, obviously, with her influence on food as medicine, I never, ever wanted to get into the profession of helping other people with their health. It seemed really daunting because I only had my mom's health to reference, and I knew she was in a lot of pain and a lot of suffering. But because of her, I had the insight and the download to like, oh my God, food actually is medicine. What I consume is going to shift my state of being. It's going to impact my energy, my mood. It's going to impact how I age, right? Because we're all living longer. And with my dad in this world of food where it gets confusing and hard to follow, the spirituality components. My dad was like Deepak Chopra growing up. He would always want to take me out for a walk or a run. And all of a sudden we were talking about ego and consciousness and karma and stuff like that. But with both worlds, I was able to now pull back and understand, God, I'm so much more just these thoughts. I'm so much more than just this body. So my dad would always say, like, if you optimize the power of your thoughts, you naturally optimize your body. So it's the two worlds together that ultimately led me to the ashram. And now all I do is take these ancient practices and I help people incorporate them into a modern day world. So yeah, I'm blessed to be able to call them my parents.
Thank you so much for sharing that, your personal insight. That's we really enjoy listening to the personal stories. That's really what connects us all as humans. Mona, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your expertise and insights on nutrition, wellness, and achieving optimal health. So before we wrap up, Mona, please let our audience know, for anyone that wants to learn more about what you're working on, where can they find you? Is it a website? Is it social media? Please let us know.
I love social media. I'm on Instagram, so find me at Mona Sharma. I love community. Send me a message. It's me responding. I don't have a team doing it or anything like that. You can go to my website, monasharma.com, and there you'll find all the links to Xicama. So Xicama is spelled with an X, Xicama, life.com. Yeah, lots more to come. I'm building quite a bit. Podcast is launching. Yeah. And I've got a newsletter also. So anyways, find me on social media and I would love to connect with you.
Incredible. Thanks. And I'll just clarify, that's MONASHARMA. And Mona, I am very excited for your continued success with your beverage brand. I will most certainly be trying it. And I will email you as soon as I do. I'm a huge fan of trying new things, and I can't wait. And once again, Mona, thank you so much for taking the time to join with us today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. Thank you for the great questions.